some videos addressing the common critiques that people have about Christianity. It's comments I've seen on my videos, it's comments I've seen on other people's videos. It's like the same 5 things. And honestly, the points might sound good in the moment, but they're pretty half-baked. So let's jump into it. And let's come out swinging and start with hell. So a common critique is, how can God be so loving and send people to hell? This is probably just going to be a part 1. Alright, so you go back to the Garden of Eden, right? God made Adam, God made Eve. They were created perfectly. They existed in the garden with God, no problem. But God very graciously gave us free will. And Adam and Eve, as we all know, chose to get wisdom of good and evil. And it was that decision that cursed humanity and also separated humanity from God. Because God is entirely righteous and entirely holy. Evil is the absence of God. We'll get into this more in part 2. Talking about hell part 2. Alright, so evil is the absence of God. Sin is the absence of God. In the same way that darkness is the absence of light and cold is the absence of heat, so evil is the absence of God. And as you know, darkness does not exist where light exists. Ever since the garden, humanity has been cursed. Because of the decision of our ancestors, we lost our holiness, but we do have knowledge of good and evil. And because we are no longer holy, because we have become darkness, we cannot exist where God exists. And that poses a very large conundrum for a creator who is absolutely head over heels in love with us. Because how is he supposed to have a relationship with his children if we cannot exist together? Bring in Jesus. Because of Jesus, we get to accept the gift of our holiness again. We no longer have to live in the darkness. We no longer have to live in sin. We get to come home. Talking about a hell part 3. And don't come for me for doing this, all right? My pinky's little. This is more comfortable. I have small hands. Leave me alone. All right, we've established that we fell from grace. We are not holy. We cannot exist where God exists because we are darkness. And then incredibly, God pulls this overtime, last 0.5 seconds of the game play and gives us Jesus. And the crowd goes wild because this means we get to come home, right? So for people who accept the gift, for people who take God up on his offer, our holiness is restored, we can exist side by side. But for people who don't, they still are in darkness, as we all once were. But they cannot exist with God. And so while we're on earth, that's fine. We all have free will. We all technically can do whatever we want. But when we die, or when this world ends, there's only 2 places you can go. Talking about a hell part 4. So earth is kind of like a middle ground. But once this is over, it's over. When you die, you have 2 options. If you took Jesus' gift and you became holy again, you can go be with God because you are both light. But if you didn't, and you are still darkness, you go and exist with the other darkness. You go to hell. And for those of you who might be saying, oh my gosh, God is just still so unloving and so rude. And how? Where else are you supposed to go? You can't go with him because he's all holy and you're all sin. Hell is the absence of God. And things that exist in the absence of God go where God does not exist. So don't come at me with God isn't loving and hell isn't fair. Because time and time again, when humanity has screwed up, he has given us a way out. He has given us protection. He has given us love and relationship. So try again.